At the heart of the CRM in Priority are tasks. They're the lifeblood of CRM, they're the transactions for the CRM. You can create tasks independently of anything. You can just go into a form and start entering the detail of a task, as we've seen indeed for the calendar entries. But if, for example, you want to just say phone a customer, and you can specify a given customer, that's all you need to do to get a task into the system. But the interesting thing about tasks is that they're interconnected with every other part of the system. Far more than just customer relationship management, they relate to vendors, they relate to employees, to projects, to service calls, to every other component of the system. Let's assume that we've issued a quotation to a customer, this particular one, and we want to copy the details into a new quotation that is subtly different, and then arrange a follow-up. We can use the copy price quotation feature, and that will create another quotation to the same customer with all the same details on it. We can then move into the active price quotations for the customer and go down to the one that's just been created, the most recent one, and we can drill into it. So this new quotation, we may well then want to create a task to follow this up. And there's a task for the document which we can specify on this date. We can assign it to another employee if we want to. More than likely, we want to add some notes explaining what needs to be followed up. And maybe we're passing this to a designer, and we could say something like, Ron, check if the dongle is the correct side compared to, and then the next thing is that we can copy in the previous quote number. So I picked that up from the previous quotation, copied it in with a drill down. So you can copy these kind of things in, but you can also link in external files as well. So in this case, what we may want to do is actually drill into the original quotation simply with the double click, and then go and pick up the attachments and copy the link for the attachment back into the task that we've just created. So just as we could create a link to the quotation, we can also copy that link for the file. Incidentally, we can also add into our notes any kind of URL. Also look at dongledrawings.com and read up on. And then the additional thing that you can do is pick up any kind of wizard within the system that might be an assistance on how to work with priority, and you can copy the link from that as well. If you're expecting this activity to involve collaboration with colleagues and a certain amount of toing and froing between them with comments from each, then it's usually a good idea to put a marker in there to show that it's you who's actually started this conversation with a timestamp on there. And you can configure this signature, but as each person adds to the conversation, it will build up in the notes. So then if we want to go back to the task itself and share this information with whomever we've specified as participants, there's a keystroke combination that allows us to send the link to customers, and as you can see, to the participants. And as you can see, that copies, because I've got the Outlook synchronization on, that copies everything into my mailbox in Outlook, sends the detail to the participant with all the notes and with all the drill downs, so I can go back to the quotation, I can go back to the outside file, I can even go back to the wizard within priority. Much of the power of tasks within priority comes from the fact that the tasks can be automated. So if we go back into a quotation, and it really doesn't matter which one we pick up, so we'll pick up all of them, and then we go into the BPM, the flow charting tool for the price quotations, you'll see that if we click on the rules, you can specify, as well as things as we've seen previously in the BPM video, as well as things like sending out emails, you can actually automate that. If you move between statuses, you can open a task. So you can actually specify within your workflow which activities will create tasks, and you can even put them to given users, and you can connect them with specific documents, specific messages, with drill down on the fields, and only on a rules basis, so that it's only records that meet specific criteria that will get the given rule. But as a result, you can automatically trigger, for example, in relation to the quotation, the follow-up for that very same quotation that you would trigger on the back of issuing the quotation. Or if you were relying on an authorization, you could trigger that the salesperson would chase the authorizer for the completion of the authorization as well. Anytime that we want to run a full to-do list, we can use, for example, the tasks per user. The detailed variant is probably better. And we can run that for a given date range. I could keep it brief, but I'll go back to at least the beginning of the year. You'll see that we get the full detailed to-do list, including the notes that we've taken. We may well want to drill into the individual task from the list, and that'll take us back to the task. If we want to go back to the underlying, for example, price quotation, everything is interlinked, so I can connect back to the originating quotation as well. These kind of interactions are possible throughout the system. So tasks can be associated with any record, whether we're talking about a price quotation, a sales order, a sales opportunity, a purchase order, warehousing instructions like packing instructions. All these kind of things can have tasks associated with them. They can appear on to-do lists or task lists, and you can drill into them and complete them. One final point, if we go back to the starting screen, is you'll notice the numbers that appear in the top right hand corner beside each of the links, and those relate to the number of to-dos that are for a given person, the person logged in, for the area that we're looking at. So there are 10 actions required on sales opportunities compared to 62 on sales orders. So that gives a subset of the to-do list that can be followed up in exactly the way that we've seen already with all the other task functions. So if you actually click on any of these quantifications, then that will open up your to-do list, which will then show as the open entries for this type of transaction.